Hi, Casselberrians. It is now time to have a casual conversation for the beneficial good of our community. The show you are about to listen to is called What's Up, Casselberry? And now it is my absolute pleasure to introduce to you your hosts, Andy and Drew.
Oh, and don't forget that lovely producer, Robin.
Hey, what's up, podcast listeners? Welcome back to the What's Up Casselberry podcast. It's Andy and Drew. There's Andy. He's highlighting us. It's episode number 86 of our little podcast. We are plugging away. Andy and I are Casselberry residents, along with our lovely producer, Robin Kepi. And we are pastors in this community. We are friends in this community, as well as outside the community. Andy, you and I are friendly with one another.
Drew, if we were on another continent, we'd still be friends. I think that's right. That's a beautiful sentiment.
Indeed.
And Robin too. Robin could come and live on our island.
She could. Yeah, that's right. We've joked before. We are an internationally known podcast. We have 2 listeners across the ponds.
Yeah, my mom and my dad. So yes. There you go.
And some random guy in France.
And a guy in France who's no longer in France. He's back in America. That's right.
Hey, Drew, do you want to know why I'm in a good mood today?
I absolutely do. Yeah, what's going on?
Because I just listened to last week's podcast and it inspired me. It was good.
Oh, in like a sentence, give listeners the reason why they should go back and listen to episode 85.
Oh, well, my personal reason is Robin works some magic to sound us better than we are. We heard the recording live, and then she made it sound beautiful afterwards. So that's my personal reason.
That is true. So peek behind the curtain, listener. Sometimes we have audio issues with the internet or with reception, or maybe our guest is in a poor reception area. And Robin Kepi did an amazing job of keeping not only the majority of our conversation with the owners of the Bravo supermarket chain here locally, but also was able to have it communicated clearly, and we're very thankful for you, Robin. And
Drew, just to say, we don't just have technological issues. We sometimes quite often have Andy and Drew issues as well.
That's just built into Robin's expectation. You got to smooth over the rough edges of Drew and D. That's right. I was trying to do a pun and it fell flat.
Of the Andrews.
So Andy, what are you doing for fun these days, man? Anything exciting in your life besides you were at an Orlando City game recently?
Oh yeah, and that would have been fun if we won. But
yeah, we got a tough streak here. We got to get back on the winning track, hopefully soon. Come on, Orlando City, you can do it.
Yes. So what am I doing for fun? Yeah, Orlando City when we're winning, that's always fun. You know, I'm a big reader, like to do that. Like to get out and work out. Haven't been doing that recently, feeling it too, but I'm ready to get back to it sometime. What about you?
Yeah, well, trying to be outside more and more, enjoying the park, especially Dewdrop Park right by our house. I bring our son Jalen out there every day. And speaking of Jalen, we celebrated, as of this recording, his 1-year adoption finalization, or Gotcha Day, as it's known. So he has been legally a Taylor for 1 calendar year, and we had a great celebration. My wife was very thoughtful, put together a nice little gift package for him, and started a new tradition where we're going to have memories and cupcake and all kinds of fun stuff with him. It was good.
Awesome. Yeah. Congratulations. That's a big deal. Been a dad for 1 year. I remember there were lots of nervous moments that have just worked out beautifully, and God is good.
Yeah, they have. Amen. And because I'm a dad, I think it's only naturally appropriate, folks, that it is time.
I'm sorry, Andy, but, well, it's got to be done. It is now time for Drew's Dad Joke of the Day.
All right, there's the groan from Andy. Robin's smiling over there. She's maybe expecting something good. What do you think, Robin? Do you have high expectations, medium, or low expectations for the joke?
I have high expectations.
All right, I love
Robin, it's the high expectations that get you every time. Be very, very careful.
Or it makes it better.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to shoot for the stars.
Yeah. Are we still talking about Drew's jokes, Robin?
Well, this joke was given to me by a friend, so I'm not going to say that friend's name, but they're getting thrown under the bus if this joke absolutely bombs. But here we go. We'll see. Here it is, listener. After all these years, can you believe it, Andy? I only know 25 letters of the alphabet.
You do? Oh, you only know 25 letters of the alphabet, Drew? Why is that?
I don't know why.
I love it.
I don't know why.
I let that ruminate. I just let it, percolate a little bit. So there it is, listener. Dad joke of the week. Andy, do you have any? I know people pass along some to you. Any this week?
I do, but I will have to pull up my log of dad jokes if you will allow me, because I'm keeping them all. Well, I'm not really. They're just in my text stream. Let me.
The Doug that sends these to you, that's Doug Pruzek.
It is, yeah. Okay, so
can he be a guest again and just tell us dad jokes the whole episode?
Ooh, that's good. Love it.
Yeah, if we want to kill the show. This is it. My friend lost his job at the dairy farm because of his erratic behavior. He was a danger to himself and others.
That's pretty good.
There you go. There you go.
There you have it, the dad joke of the week. Well, let's now hit some hard-hitting news with the Casselberry in the news. Andy, the city officials have sat down, have worked hard, have crunched the numbers, and our city budget for the next year has been set. First off, it's not January, so I was confused by this, but you shared with me that the calendar apparently begins, is it October 1? Is that when the calendar starts?
Yeah, I believe the city's fiscal year is October to October. And just to clarify something you said, Drew, I thought that approving the budget was just a one and done process too. But as with everything in city government, because they want to be beyond reproach, above board, there are actually two readings of the budget which are noted. The first one is voted on. If that passes, then it goes to the second reading. If that still passes, then the budget is sworn into place. This is a very involved process. All the department heads, the finance department, the city manager, put everything together and, work it out to the penny. This year, it's no secret, it's been read and approved upon on the first reading, is around $70 million for our little city, which is a significant jump of about $20 million because we voted to approve the parks referendum to upgrade the parks. And so that cost is involved in that budget as well, which is honestly really exciting. I was so impressed listening to the ins and outs and the details, the savings, the fine tooth comb that they use to go through all the numbers. I can get a little bit nerdy about reading spreadsheets and stuff like that. And I was in nerd heaven because there's just so many people who have worked brilliantly to put together a fair, balanced, thoughtful, progressive budget for our city.
See, that's interesting. I'm learning something new about you because typically, like for me, pastors go into our type of work because we cannot really do numbers very well. So
yeah, Drew, you would be surprised at the number of different ways that I can be nerdy.
No, that is very helpful though to share with. I mean, yes, that's true, but it's also very helpful to share with our listeners that this is an ongoing process in terms of the many folks that take a look at the budget. We've had city officials on before, and we're so thankful for those folks that do the hard work. I think of Randy Newland in particular, the city manager, and his diligence and caring for the taxpayer dollars to make sure they are going towards things that matter in the city and for our citizens. But that's something to note, that the bond referendum passing a couple years ago, decisions being made on which parks and what order to update said parks. And now money coming into the year 2022 will be allocated towards those park improvements. So we'll be seeing the fruits of our vote very, very soon. That's great. Robin, would you jump in and join us for this next Casselberry in the News item? The recent podcast guest, Janine Hutchison, is highlighting and kind of mentoring, starting a new mentoring program for girls called the Lighthouse Girls, young ladies at South Seminole Academy. And you have some insight on an event coming up in our city to care for young ladies in Casselberry.
So the event itself is actually going to be for anyone in need in Casselberry. It's not just for young girls, but it is hosted by the Lighthouse Girls and Ascension Lutheran Church. And it will actually be held at Ascension Lutheran Church on October 21st, which is a Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. We're going to be collecting canned food, dry food, put together bags. We're going to have local charities, local churches there. So anyone who's in need of anything, we're going to try to help you. So everything's in one place. And there'll be, we're having a cookout. So there'll be food there for that night and anyone's welcome.
Amazing. Yeah. Give us the date and time and location one more time.
Thursday, October 21st from 6 to 8 p.m. at Ascension Lutheran Church in Casselberry. It's right off 1792 behind Community United Methodist, which will have their pumpkins out. So if you see the pumpkin church, just go behind it.
Andy, that's just another example of the city coming together, individuals as well as the collective coming together to serve our community. Thank you, Janine and Ascension Lutheran and all involved in that great event on October 21st. All right, it's now time to go back in time.
And now from the Society of Historic Casselberry, this is History of Casselberry with Dr. Deborah Bauer.
This is Dr. Deborah Bauer with your Casselberry History in 90 Seconds. One of the earliest settlers in Casselberry, Stephen J.L. Hooker, was related to some of the wealthiest ranching families in Orlando, including the well-known William B. Hooker. His uncle was known as Florida's Cattle King. Stephen Hooker likely became acquainted with what is today the area in Casselberry near Lake Concord at 1792 and Plamosa Avenue during his service in the U.S. Army during the Third Seminole War of the 1850s. Hooker married Nancy Hodges in 1858 in Orlando and moved his new family to the Concord area around 1860, where he purchased several dozen acres of land, almost 40 acres in total, for use as a homestead farm. The Hookers raised primarily poultry and dairy cows. The Hooker House, located on the shores of Lake Griffin, dates to 1887. The main homestead remained in the family for many years until it was bought at auction by Jules Cole in 1944. The Cole family lived on the land until 1996, when the family worked to sell the land to a developer who eventually built the gated community known as Lake Griffin Estates. The new owner agreed to preserve two of the Hooker-era buildings, the main shotgun-style Florida Cracker House and a guest house. In 1998, the developer moved them to a spot a short distance away from their original location and redesigned the two buildings into a single, united, larger dwelling. The Hooker Homestead House is still standing today. However, it is a private home, but it is the oldest structure that survives within the city of Casselberry to date. Again, this has been Dr. Deborah Bauer with your Casselberry History in 90 Seconds.
This is the point in the show where we would let one of our podcast partners promote their business. But right now, we don't have a partner. This is a great opportunity for you to get your business, nonprofit, church, social group known among our Casselberry community. We are not doing this to make money, but there is a small fee that helps us pay our bills. If you'd like to be a sponsor, a partner on the What's Up Casselberry podcast, email us at contact@whatsupcasselberry.com. Listeners, welcome back to the most important part of the show where we bring in some special guests, and they don't come any more special today than our friends Sean and Jamila. They recently entered into a new venture together as leaders of USA Unite, a subsidiary of Global Unites that seeks to inspire, connect, equip youth to transform global societies through movements that promote hope, nonviolence, and reconciliation. Does that sound like a mouthful? It is, but the good news is we're going to break that down and talk about what that means. They're based right here in Seminole County. Welcome, guys.
Woohoo! We're excited. Thanks for having us.
All right, we have got some hard-hitting questions. Are you ready?
Hard-hitting. I'm ready.
First question for you, Jay. You are a tea drinker like me. What can we who have experienced living in England teach Americans about why a nice cup of tea is the best drink to start the day?
Ooh, I am actually a semi-purist, right? So I don't have an electric kettle. I purposefully purchased a on-the-stove kettle because in our society, in which we're like always fast-paced, having the tea be on the stove in such a way actually helps to slow me down. And then steeping the tea, hold on now, you got to steep it. Okay, that's another opportunity to wait and then engage in the hot tea sipping.
That's right. Coffee is just fast. It's like, give me now. But tea is a process that slows you down. Very good.
Right.
I like that. That's really a well thought out answer, Jay. Sean, for you, is your kind of icebreaker
Drew,
question.
You seem surprised about
I expected a good answer, but I just was like, man, it's not just that you like tea, but there was like this whole science and like process behind it. That was good. That was good.
Well, it's a little snooty, if we're honest. So it's the British way. Go ahead, Drew.
It is. It is. Sean, Andy tells me you're a soccer player. I have not seen your skills in action, but if you were to join Orlando City for a match, which based on the other night's result, we might need you pretty soon, what position would you want to play and why?
Great question. And I think you nailed it. After the most recent game for us, gosh, I don't know. I mean, we lost 4-2, so we need some defense. At the same time, we got to score some goals. But my preference, I grew up in Brazil. And so, in Brazil, everybody wants to be a striker. And so I've got to keep to my roots. I would like to score goals. I want all the glory. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where the glory is. I was going to say that. All right. Next little icebreaker, because these are kind of fun. Jay, if Time Magazine were to write an article about you, capturing the essence of your life's story so far, what would the title of the article be?
I actually really poured over this and I still don't know. I think it would be Awkwardly Beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Nice. That's very intriguing. Drew's title was going to be just Awkward, but that's good.
It is. It's a workshop. I'm working on that right now as we speak.
I'm sure it'd be a huge hit. There's a lot of us in that.
What about you, Sean? What not only the title, but maybe a cover feature of the inside of your book or magazine?
Oh my gosh. I also was thinking about this, and I'll take it just to a fun place instead of a serious, because I could do both. But I think I'd like to be on the cover, with like a giant fish that I just reeled from the depths of the ocean and broke some world record. Yeah, I love the outdoors. I love fishing and hunting. So we'll go with that.
All right. So let's get a little bit serious. You guys are professional, can we say that? Or at least fellow podcasters with us. And you both together host a podcast called the Black and White Television Podcast.
Oh, I like that name. That's fun.
Tell us about that.
I don't know that anyone would say television, but we hope they say black and white TV.
Andy's old school. Jay. It's television.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
you have no idea how old school I am.
Because this is a podcast, you can't see us, but Sean and I are black and white. Literally, we're gray.
Mm-hmm. And actually, Sean looks whiter than me, the pasty white British guy.
Yeah. Yeah, we actually have an episode where we talk about
how pasty Andy is.
Yeah. Like there's
I'm sure that's popular.
I know. What is the word, Jay? That
alabaster.
Alabaster is like this word that somehow is in the mix now of describing white people like me.
I don't know what mix. I've never heard anyone share that.
Yeah, I don't either. But yeah, I mean, black and white TV, the cool thing about it is it grew out of a friendship. Jay and I have known each other for a lot of years, but we especially grew closer together as friends, along with a group of peers, other friends of ours, as many of us journeyed through COVID together and really struggled, I would say, through that time period and what our country was facing. And so we had a lot of interesting, hard conversations, often with tears, frankly, sometimes a lot of silence, but a lot of laughter and joy too. And I think that's partly what we like about the concept of the TV podcast show is, yes, Jay is black, I'm white, but it's also about how, as a country, we're so desperate to turn every issue into something that we can boil down to be black or white, when there is a lot of gray, or we like to say how there's a lot of color and nuance in so many of the topics. And really what we need to do is just enter into that brave, safe space of having open dialogue built on trust with friendships who can invite us into some of those hard conversations and learn from each other. So that's a little bit of it.
Wow, that's awesome. Jay, just to go off script for a quick minute, what has been maybe a recent, we are not usually about promoting other podcasts, listeners, but this one sounds really does sounds insightful.
I mean, if you want to realize how good our podcast is, it's always good to listen to other podcasts, right, Drew?
Yeah, there you go. That's right. Backhanded
humility again.
But Jay, what's a recent either a guest you've had on or a topic that you all discussed in kind of this subject matter?
So what's cool is that sometimes we'll start out talking about something that's popular in our culture. And so a lot of the episodes that we have filmed previously were in the later 2020 and early 2021. So some of the things that we have talked about would be like, we've talked about Black hair, and Sean loved that episode. He was super excited about it. But one of the episodes that we did talk about too was we started talking about Michael Jackson. We both are big fans of his music and artistry. And then we took a turn and started talking about colorism. And I actually shared one of my friend's stories just with her own struggle about being a darker skinned Black woman and what that meant for her, and just talking about just the sadness within our culture, within the regards to disliking our own skin color and how we even try to breed that out by having interracial dating and different things like that. So that was really powerful and beautiful and hard. And I also shared something about my cousins in England in that episode as well, because I didn't realize that colorism wasn't just an American thing, right? But it was like, oh, you guys have similar issues even in England. And then I know that there's multiple cultures who have colorism issues within their cultures. So we got to talk about that. All starting to talk about Michael Jackson. So,
well, and in some ways, that was kind of the genesis for what you're both doing now, right? That's a great transition. The podcast allowed you to get to know each other, to discuss some of these issues, to be real about some of the issues. And maybe around that and through that, USA Unites was born. Tell us about what you're doing together now.
As Sean was sharing about like even how we got closer, it was like during the pandemics is what we would say. We believe there was more than one pandemic. There was the physical pandemic, there was a racial pandemic, there was a political pandemic, and we would even say there was a social pandemic. So a lot of ways that we saw in America, things that were kind of beneath the surface, and then it just really exploded and took over and really polarized us. And we were already polarized, but it just became more apparent. And so we were looking at like, what's the underlying or what's the thread through all these pandemics? And it was a lot of like dehumanizing, demonizing people and just like shutting down, cutting off, all those kind of things. And so then we were like, okay, how can we actually address this? Because it's huge. It's a huge issue. And so we were like, okay, we have access to the next generation. That's a lot of what USA Unites is about. It's about leaning into and bringing up the next generation. So we were like, okay, in 4 years, can this look different? These are going to be future voters, future politicians, future all the things. And so if we were like, if we can start to educate and inspire, connect, equip youth to learn how to listen, how to learn from other humans that you disagree with, and even lean into other people's story, we could potentially change culture, even in a small way that can then, domino into larger capacities in larger ways. So that's what we're doing right now. We're actually utilizing this curriculum in which we're teaching that.
In fact, we just came from a local public high school. So one of the actual programs that we're doing right now is we're just on one public high school here in the Casselberry, Longwood area. And then just this afternoon, while we were there, another administrator came to us and said, hey, there's another school that's asking if you would come. And so right now we're doing 4 classes on every Thursday for 6 weeks. We'll do it again with another set of classes. It's at Lyman High School. And then we'll switch over. We'll continue those. And then we'll also start, I think, at Seminole, right,
yeah,
Jay?
Seminole High School.
So we'll start at Seminole. And a lot of what we're doing is, like Jay said, is we're trying to inspire, but also give practical tools to the next generation. So one of the things that we talked about today in these classes was when Jay was talking about pandemic, took like a quick little 2-minute dive into the word pandemic, right? Like pandemic, sort of the root of that is this word pandemos. The first part, pan, just means all. And then demos means people. All people. And so when we are talking to these students, what we're saying to them is, pandemic it kind of came on the scene around a physical disease that affected all people, pandemos, the COVID-19, disease. But what we're actually struggling with, what that year really unveiled even deeper, was we're suffering from an all people experience and division in the area of racism. All people, there's a pandemos that's in the political arena. There's a pandemos that's happening socially. And so what we are calling these students upward to is, what would it look like under this sort of USA Unites call that we have in this work? What would it look like for them to lead not just their generation, but call out every generation to a pandemos of unity? And then what are the practical skills that we have to get back to? So we're really getting back to the brass tacks of human relationship. How do you listen to the person in front of you? How do you look them in the eyes? How do you learn from their experience and their background and their story? And then how do you lean in to their perspective? It doesn't mean you have to agree with them, but there's another way that America needs to move forward, which is we've got to get back to dignifying, respecting, and humanizing each other again.
Jay and Sean, I loved your description of what USA Unites is and what you guys are about. Essentially, what you're speaking to is this desire to bring about peace, to be peacemakers where there is so much division, as you said, kind of uniting, bringing people into the room to have conversations. And sometimes peace takes a lot of listening and a lot of even unwillingness to be uncomfortable. Why is the pursuit of peacemaking and peacekeeping so important to who you all are personally, as well as the organization USA Unites?
It's a really challenging question, but there's beauty and sadness in even my own answer to that. And that is, I've experienced a good deal of people who are nice being ignorant and therefore deeply hurtful. And so there is something to that of like, because some people are just like, well, I'm not trying to be offensive, or I'm not trying to, whatever the case is. And then it's like, if you lack awareness, if you lack the education, if you lack the relationships of others, that can actually be more divisive, if that makes sense. So it's like, through education, through relationships, those kind of things actually move us forward to peace, because without it, I think it's very dangerous. Like people who stay in ignorance or who stay in bubbles of like, this is just what I think and believe, and I hang out with people who I think and who think and believe just like me, and just kind of feed that. I think it makes you more dangerous, and I think it makes our world more dangerous. That makes sense. So
absolutely, and that's a powerful answer to a difficult question. I wish we had more time to delve into this more. And I would really encourage folks to check out USA Unites and see what you're doing. And, we can have another conversation. But a couple more questions from me, just very quickly. And I know people for thousands and thousands of years have been trying to answer this. What are 2 or 3 things that we can do to bring people together?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say the way I answer that these days is very much at a personal level, and I like the way Jay personalized earlier some of what she is teaching on. And when we're doing these programs at these schools, it's not just an academic, it's not just textbook. It's rooted in story, and often painful story. And that's a lot of, unfortunately, if you're a minority in this country, there's a lot of pain there. And I think for me, one of the things that's been extremely helpful in my friendship with Jay is, first of all, lowering the defenses. We're, as a country, so deeply entrenched in wanting to be right all the time that we've almost left no room or space in our lives to actually adjust our point of view or our worldview. And humanly, that's just not how we're wired. All of us, as long as we're breathing, we are constantly in a learning space, or we should be. And those are our best days. Those are our best moments, is when we are learning and adapting. And then we get to take that experience. And it doesn't matter what you do occupationally, or if you're a parent or grandparent, brother, sister, family dynamics, we are wired to serve and care and help others. And so as long as we are entrenched in a position and unwilling to listen and even be open to our position changing, we're going to be stuck in a bad place as a country. We already see that across. And so I would say, practically speaking, some of the things are looking people in the eye and realizing that this person isn't their position, that what they are trying to fight for and articulate, there's a human behind those words, and they are probably struggling to even figure it out themselves. We just got to give each other more space to talk out and wrestle and process this stuff. I love the quote, Andy, you might remember who it's from. I think sometimes it's maybe Aristotle that's given this, but multiple different people have been quoted as this.
If it's not a British guy, I don't know. So.
Yeah. We'll just say it was Andy. But there's that great quote that says, "Be kind, for everyone is fighting a hard battle."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that's what we often forget is.
Yeah, I think that was Sean Penn, actually.
Was it?
No, I don't know.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's it, right? Mm-hmm. That we sometimes forget that there's a human behind that position, and they're still trying to figure stuff out.
That's good. One final question before we wrap up. Again, really, I realize what we're doing now is just whetting people's appetites to find out more. Jay, paint a picture of what success looks like as you go about this peacemaking work.
I would say success looks like your so you as a being, not just living in this space of I'm more aware, but that's important, but that you are becoming more proactive in uniting. Like uniter is actually not a passive way of being. It's very much an active way of being, in which you're seeing places and spaces where you can bring either people together, thoughts together, something that's like fractured or broken or maybe not addressed, and you can actually start to engage in that. And so that could be as close to home as literally your dinner table, right? Within your own relationships. And then you can look at, because like with our students, we're saying, look at the school, instead of just saying like, look at the country, look closer, right? So it could be the workplace. It could be literally your house. It could be just, what's happening in your individual relationships that are divisive and that you could start to bring unity to. You can learn, listen, lean in to. That's what I would consider success. It's not it's not always so big, but it can be big, but it starts really small.
I want to live in that kind of world where we can get along better and where peace is the norm and where respect is the driver for all things that we do. Guys, I wish we had more time, and we'll have to have you back. It's been a lot of fun, but also pretty deep as we've talked about some serious issues. As we wrap up, how can people find out more about USA Unites, about you guys, about the organization? Give us some contact information, social media, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we are on all the platforms. So Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, just look up USA Unites and you'll find us there. We put updates, pictures, stories regularly in the feed there. We are about to launch our brand new website. So hopefully by the time you're listening to this, when you go to usaunites.org, it won't say under construction. So good luck with that. But we're so excited about the opportunity and love the work that we're doing. And we love doing it here in Casselberry. This is our home.
It's the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah. This is where it's launching. This is where we're piloting a lot of the programs. And so we're just grateful to be around such incredible community leaders and including like the list of people I looked at the podcast list and the guests that you've had so far,
cool.
Drew and Andy. It's awesome. So thanks for what you guys are doing.
It does our heart good to have you here, and I'd encourage folks to go to that website, usaunites.org. But it does my heart good to hear your story, because we are a community. We are in it together, and we need rules of engagement that build people up and add respect and add value. And I think you guys are doing that in a deep, long-lasting, vital way. So thanks very much for joining us today.
Wow. Thank you, Sean and Jay, for your time and your work in our local community in Seminole County. Appreciate the conversation. As always, we love all of our guests on the What's Up Casselberry podcast, the inspiration that they bring through what they're doing for the good of our city. Andy, it is now your turn to wrap up with an inspirational quote.
Thank you, Drew. Our quote today comes from a man called Michael Atschler, who says this: "The bad news is that time flies, but the good news is that you're the pilot. The bad news is that time flies. The good news is that you're the pilot." Friends, you know, I know, we all know that life happens fast. We look over the rearview mirror of our life, and it was only yesterday that we were a little kid at home, or a high schooler on his first day, or getting out into the real world on some adventures. And here we are a few years later wondering, where did the time go? Time moves pretty quickly, but the good news is we're the pilot. We get to decide how we spend our time. We get to decide how we shape the future. And so, friend, today I'd remind you that even though time is moving quickly, you're the pilot, and make the most of it.
Excellent. Thank you, Andy. And thank you for our guests, producer Robin, all those that go into making this the best podcast that it can be. We hope you enjoyed today's episode of the What's Up Casselberry podcast, a casual conversation about our community. This podcast, of course, has been produced by Beyonce, aka Robin Kepi, or maybe that's reverse, something like that. For more information, please check us out on our website, our Facebook page, Instagram, podcast feed, all with the name What's Up Casselberry. Click the like button, subscribe to us so you can get a new episode every week. Give us a rating and review. And until next time, have a great week.